ranks of Italy and stop bringing down country after country. Because it may feel far away now, but this domino game of attacking countries will come back to roost in all of our pockets. So the bottom line is that the confidence and stability for the world economy can come from one place, and that place is the #1 economy and the #1 bond market and the #1 stock market in the world, the United States of America. So far, the super committee charged with stepping up to the plate and dealing with America's deficit does not have a deal. But if they make one, they won't be what you see on the screen. They will be superheroes, and they could change sentiment around the world and save America from a debt crisis like Europe's. Senator Pat Toomey is a member of the Super Committee, the architect of the latest Republican proposal to cut the debt, and he joins us tonight. Senator, thanks so much. I appreciate your coming out front. I just want to ask you about your plan, which I know you've gone through. It comes out to about $1.2 trillion. You get the majority of that still from spending cuts, I believe just more than 60%, and you do have some tax increases in there. What's been the Democratic response so far?
Well, Erin, I'd rather not characterize my Democratic colleagues and their reaction, but I will say that we still have 2 weeks left on the clock. It's not a lot of time, but it is enough time to reach an agreement. I really want to do this. You're exactly right. The importance of restoring some confidence in Congress, in our government, in our ability to start to get our fiscal house in order is so important. And this plan that we've put together, it's very pro-growth. It's modeled in many ways after the bipartisan commissions that have recommended that as part of any deficit reduction plan, we ought to have a reform of our tax codes to encourage economic growth, simplify the code, generate revenue from closing loopholes and special interest favors. That sort of thing is in the plan. And then certainly there's some spending cuts. At the end of the day, it's runaway spending that has created this problem and will exacerbate it.
Let me ask you.
So I just think the pieces are there, and I sure hope we can find a way to find a solution.
All right, a few questions. I want to really talk about this issue of tax revenue because I'm confused. Yeah. You keep talking on the Republican side about new tax revenue. The Republicans talk about taxes going up on an absolute basis for some Americans. Are you saying the same thing, or are you saying we're going to cut tax rates, get rid of some deductions, so most people will get a tax cut? Because those are very different things.
What I've advocated that we do, which I think makes a lot of sense, is first of all, and frankly it follows the model of all the bipartisan proposals that I've seen, lower the nominal rates, lower the marginal rates. I've suggested a top rate of 28% and lower rates for all the other rates. And then you offset that lost revenue by limiting the value of deductions and write-offs and credits and special favors. You limit those things significantly. And in fact, I would limit them so much that for the upper income taxpayers, they'd end up paying a little bit more than they pay now. But we would eliminate the risk of this huge tax increase that's looming out there, that's providing a wet blanket on the economy. I think that would create certainty. It would certainly be pro-growth. It would generate some more revenue. Most of that revenue would come from added economic growth.
All right, so, but I think intellectually that's a big statement that you're saying some people will pay net more, and that's important. But let me ask you this. When you talk about deductions, a lot of people watching will say, all right, you're going to cut my tax rate but get rid of deductions. What about my mortgage?
Yeah, you know, I'm very flexible about how we do this. There's lots of different ideas. There are different mechanisms that we can use. I'm not wed to any particular one. I am interested in more fairness, more simplicity, getting rid of some of the very targeted special favors. You know, there's going to be things that some people aren't going to like. There's nothing that's going to win the support of everybody. But I think there is a way to do this, generate more revenue with lower nominal rates. Let me
ask you one more thing. We've done a very simple breakdown on this show just to show how compromise is possible. You get to a lot higher number than 1.2, which is the minimum, obviously, the committee's charged with. But if you let the Bush tax cuts go away completely, $2.8 trillion in revenue, and you match that with $2.8 trillion in spending cuts, $5.6 trillion over 10 years, that really solves the problem. Because the 1.2, you got to keep coming back every year or two. What about that?
There's a big problem with that, in my view, Erin. If we let the Bush tax cuts expire completely, it's the biggest tax increase in American history by far. Cap gains and dividends, the lower rates we have now that drive so much investment, those rates go up to what I think would be a crippling level. I think we'd be guaranteed
just back
to have
to Bill
a double-dip
Clinton's level,
recession.
Though, right?
Well, we're not in the kind of economy we were in the 1990s, when we had an internet boom and an innovation that was happening at a breathtaking pace. That's not going on now. I think the worst thing we could do is have this gigantic, massive tax increase. I think a much better approach is to simplify the code,
right.
lower rates, and generate our revenue through that mechanism.
All right. Well, thank you very much for coming out front tonight. Really appreciate it. As you know, we care passionately about the super committee, so we're rooting for you.
Thanks for having me. Thank you.